Hello, good evening, every one of you. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes,
How are you all today? How is the weather like?
it's
Here in
raining here.
Singapore, it's raining, windy, and all. What about you all?
Here also the same, madam.
Will we be able to manage?
I think so, no?
Yeah, okay, no problem. Right, thank you very much. So then, how are you all today? You all went to a female school or what? Or it is a rainy day and you were confined to home. What happened? A small talk I thought of before starting. You could manage to go out as it's a rainy day. I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, okay. Today we have Afra is there, Channa is here, Fatima and Vitanagi, Salma, Shamla, Situmi. Okay. Have you received your assignment by now? Nirupudi also joined. Have you received your assignment, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you receive your assignment?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am. Yes,
received.
ma'am.
Right. Is there a kind of I'm breaking. You can't follow me easily. I'm thinking of this windy weather and raining and all that. Can you easily follow me?
Yeah, madam, no issues.
Right, okay. Right. Do you want me to talk about the assignment or is it okay now? Because we have discussed it enough. Is there any questions regarding the assignment?
Yes, madam, I have.
Yeah, please ask.
Ma'am, can we do it in a Google form? So, what?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, now
Okay.
submission, how it is to be submitted, that is actually institute only know tell you, right? So you have to actually submission. Google form is okay. It can be handwritten and scanned and sent. It can be typed one, anything. It doesn't matter for me. If it is done in a Google form, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Any other question?
And one more question, ma'am.
Yeah, Fatima.
Uh, can we add, that means link live sheet, that means live worksheets can be given?
If it is prepared by you, better.
Uh,
If it's prepared by you,
no, I didn't. I just got it.
it's all right because now this is a world of resourcing. There are no hard and fast rules about material development. If you can
Uh-huh.
search, if you can find relevant material, now with a YouTube that you're going to give that online questionnaire or something, it's okay, perfectly all right, but you have to provide me link. And
Okay. Yes, I have.
they should be perfectly all right to be used now because sometimes the video is on something, your topic is on something, but what you actually ask is something that can't be because as they're ready-made ones you're using, right? You have to make sure the ready-made ones you're using are perfect for your purpose. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
right, that is it. It's all right because that is actually a weakness in teachers. They don't search for the freely available material and make use of them, right? They are made available to you and you should be smart enough to use them. There are no hard and fast rules. For using them means you are knowledgeable. Otherwise, you can't be using them. No? You can't select the proper ones and all that. No? So that is perfectly okay. Right. So I think the assignment at hand is all right with you. You all can do that. Am I right?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, madam.
Yes,
I'm
Shamila.
Shamala.
Yeah,
I
Shamala.
am new joiner for this program, madam.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what the assignment. Can you please explain the assignment again, madam?
Now, Shamla, this is your first day.
Yes, madam. Yes.
Now, Shamla, I think in this module, this is our 4th day or the 5th day. Is this our
Okay.
5th day? Yes. So then what you can do is, first, you have to actually collect all the material available. Shamla, it's hard
Okay,
work
madam.
by you, but you can, okay? Now,
Okay.
session 1, session 2, session 3, session 4. And listen, you have the kind of PDF and Word documents to read. And you have the recording as well, right? Without actually doing your own work, I'm unable to actually talk to you about the assignment. But as a
Okay.
consideration,
Okay.
as it's your first day, you don't have to meet the deadline as the others. I can give you some more time. We can extend the time because you definitely have to
Okay.
listen to all the recordings, read the materials, because if
Yes.
I'm to explain it
Okay.
and teach you again, then the others are at a disadvantage and I will not be able to cover the syllabus also. But once you listen to them, make notes and understand what it is all about, it's like that you are in my explanation, right? Material, you can do self-study
Okay.
and then you can
Okay.
start doing the assignment. Maybe that you can actually ask for 1 or 2 more months. 1 more month to do the assignment. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I think that is
madam,
the
okay.
possibility. Otherwise, I'm taking others' time now. And I also have a syllabus
Yes.
to cover. But if there's anything next time, right, you can just listen to them and you can actually focus, first read the assignment, focus on the area that the assignment is set, and then first actually self-study that. And then start doing that, and definitely institute will give you more, campus will give you more time, maybe end of November or something like that. First you go through them, still there's anything that you can come back to me. Otherwise, it's a difficulty for me also, Shamala, right? Where do you teach? Are you a teacher or where are you
Okay,
from?
madam. Okay, sure.
Can you talk about your...
No, madam. I'm not teacher. I'm
Uh-huh.
not a teacher. I finished my diploma in teacher education
Where did you do your teacher education diploma?
in Madavala.
Uh-uh.
Madavala International.
Right, okay. Now, where are you from?
I'm from Kandy, madam. Kandy,
Right,
Digana.
okay. Right, okay. Right. Okay, now we'll start today's work. I think you can get more time for that, but you have to first go through all that. I told you. Now, today, I will actually move on to another topic. Now, the first day we discuss educational technology is not about technology only, right? How we use technology in educational purposes. It's a vast area, like everything related to teaching and learning, right? Everything related to teaching and learning. So we started with approaches. Then we looked at methods. Then we looked at some techniques, okay? Approaches to teaching. They are beliefs, assumptions, philosophical assumptions. So we discussed 2 main approaches as teacher-centered approach and student-centered approach. And then we looked at methods. So according to your philosophical assumption, teacher-centered or student-centered, that you will select the methods of teaching. And we discussed some methods. Teacher-centered one, namely lecture method, demonstration method, and then some Student-centered methods. We started with discussion, very commonly used in the classroom now. And then we looked at the flipped method using ICT. And then we looked at jigsaw method for the development of 21st century skills. It's a very important method. Then project method, and then scientific method. Like that, we discussed some student-centered methods as well. Then we came down to techniques, teaching techniques. So we looked at questioning as a teaching technique, grouping as a teaching technique, teacher in the class to actually make it happen, your teaching to be realized, implement, that you use techniques. So you used questioning as a technique. You can use grouping as a technique, systems as a technique, brainstorming as a technique. You can go into storytelling as a technique and all that. I can send you a reading material on storytelling. In the primary classes, storytelling is a very good technique. But even in secondary school, if you're a history teacher, if you're a literature teacher, so the storytelling, even with the secondary school, is very important. History teachers, literature teachers, they all use, language teachers, they use storytelling as a technique. So I did not cover that part because we can't discuss everything, but I'll be sending you that note on storytelling. Then you can read it and come to know how to make it storytelling interesting and what kind of skills the teacher needs to use this technique of storytelling, right? Okay. And today we are moving on to another topic, that is teaching models. Please make your notes, right? You have pen and paper. Please make your own notes, dear. Okay? Teaching models. Are you listening?
Yes,
Everyone?
Yeah,
Are- yeah, okay. Now, today we are discussing another subtopic,
Teaching model.
teaching models. Okay. Now, what is a model? If I ask you this question, I really would like you to talk, man. Then only it's interesting. Otherwise, the boring. More of the model. What is meant by model?
plants.
You said it's a plan. Okay. Others? To a certain degree, I agree with you. It's a plan. Then others?
instruction to follow,
Talk a bit louder, Pute.
an example to follow,
Right. An example to follow. Right. Very good. An example to follow. Okay.
The characteristics and personalities.
instruction,
So you need to speak louder today, Putta.
ma'am, instruction,
I didn't get you anyway. I couldn't follow you. Speak louder. Come to the speaker. Get closer to the speaker and speak louder.
Variety of patterns.
Variety of patterns. Okay. Right. I don't say it's wrong. I don't say it's perfectly right. 100% right. And this is a model. I will give you a kind of analogy also. A model is a block. A model is a template. A model is a structure that you can follow. For example, I will give you the perfect analogy here. Now, you are not very good in your sewing or stitching. You're not very good in your sewing. Mahanda bear. But your mother is very good at it. Okay? So your mother says, now you all are teachers. It happened to me also, right? You all are teachers. You all spend a lot of money on these sari jackets to get it stitched. They're very expensive, sometimes more than the sari that you have to spend on stitching, getting it stitched. Okay? So your mother says, now right, I will do you a block. Mother is very good, no? I will do you a block. And you keep the block on the cloth and cut it and stitch it. That part, of course, you can do. because you know a little bit of sewing. So what you can do is your mother take all the measurements and then she actually prepare a block for you. And you bring it home. You keep the block, paper block, now it's on the cloth and you cut it and then you can stitch it. That's no problem. As you know you can sew, but you're not very you're not an expert in it. But your mom, being an expert, she could do that for you. So similar thing. Now y'all are new teachers, right? Maybe. So then actually you learn about methods, approaches, techniques, all that. But when it comes to the classroom application of this, right? How to conduct a teaching session, how to do teaching, using all these elements I discussed, how to organize it systematically. That is a bit of a challenge for the new teacher. So for that purpose, in literature, in teaching technology, that we talk about teaching models. So a model is there, a block is there, that you use that block and do your teaching, right? And when you experience, you become an experienced teacher, it's all right. You don't have to actually use it as it is. You can do changes. You can amend it. You can adapt it. And you can actually make it a very effective classroom teaching session. But for the novice teacher, that you have the block, it's very easy. You follow it. And then you don't make mistakes. Likewise, now when you want to do art also, there are some blocks like things, no? If it is a leaf, you put the block into that ink and then put it on the paper. It's a beautiful leaf, like that. Then little bit of a final touch that you can give, something like that. And because a novice teacher needs experiences to actually make it on your own. So because of that, the teaching models are there. So we have spoken about teacher-centered approach. We have spoken about student-centered approach at the two extreme ends of the continuum, behaviorism and constructivism. So if you are a teacher-centered teacher, what type of a teaching model is useful for you? In another day, on another day, in another teaching session, that you are going to be a student-centered teacher. That is your philosophical assumption for that particular lesson. Then you can use the 5E model of teaching. Out of the teaching models, those two models that we are going to discuss. Is it clear to you, Puta? I want every one of you to respond to me. Then we can start the discussion.
Yeah,
Please.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Others? Is it clear?
Madam,
Yeah.
P
Yes.
model is teacher center model, and
Mhm.
5E model is the
A
Tell me.
student-centered model.
student center. Na?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
PPP model is based on behaviorism. Behaviorism is for teacher-centered, no? Behaviorism kila kena theory of learning. Theory of learning is how students learn, right? Then how students learn, behaviorism actually is into teacher-centered education. We have discussed them, son. No? And then student-centered, that means learning theory is constructivism. How do students learn through discovery learning and all that? So it actually led to the discussion of student-centered approaches to teach, right? So we are looking at PPP model and then 5E model, what they actually mean. But you don't have to stick to one particular model. You can think of ways of blending. We call it going eclectic. E-C-L-E-C-T-I-C. E-C-L-I-L-E-C-T-I-C. Eclectic. So eclecticism is the new, actually, it's the trend now. You draw some elements from behaviorism, that is PPP model. You draw some elements from constructivism, that is 5E model, and blend it to make it suitable to your class. Okay? Are you okay? I see Reena, Shamila, Nilupuli, Fatima, Vidanage, Channa, Safana, Afra. Are you all okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Good, good. So let me actually share a kind of a document with you and first discuss PPP model of teaching. Okay. Right.
Excuse me,
Let
ma'am.
me share. Yeah.
Last time we discussed PPP model. Today,
You were keeping all silent, Nathan.
no, ma'am, I was saying excuse me, but you didn't hear.
I see. So
Yeah.
then I don't have to discuss it again, but I will just give you a 5-minute explanation and then move on to the 5E model. Okay? Right. Right. Let me share the document. Okay. Notes. I need some time, 1 or 2 minutes. July. Okay. Now here, I'm sharing a document on the 5E model, but we will discuss about the PPP model. And I'm not sharing the PowerPoint I used last time, but you can make your own notes because you know what it is. PPP model of teaching. Actually, it is grounded on behaviorism. This model is grounded on behaviorism. So behaviorism is the learning theory that this PPP model is grounded on. Okay. In behaviorism, we believe that students are empty vessels. Teacher is the knowledge imparter. Teacher has to actually spoon feed the child. Mistakes should not be committed. If students make mistakes, actually they get fossilized. Because of that, you first give them controlled practice. Then once they actually learn it better, only that you give them some freedom to practice it, applying it to everyday life. Otherwise, initially teacher explains everything. Students actually listen, and then students understand what the teacher says. And then teacher gives them some activities. They are very controlled. There is only supply type answers are there. That they will actually not using the knowledge that they learn in freely initially in controlled practice. And then once they actually are thorough with what they have learned, only that they can actually be given some freedom to apply what they learned and do something on their own. So that behaviorism, PPP model is grounded on behaviorism that is highly teacher-centered. So your philosophical assumption about teaching in a particular lesson on that particular day is teacher-centered because it has its own advantages. We have enough discuss it because vast content, maybe large class, maybe limited time, maybe difficult content and all that. We don't know. You decide on teacher-centered approach, and then you can use the PPP model. Right. Now, PPP, first P stands for presentation.
Presentation.
Very good. Very good. Can you
Practicing
explain what
production.
presentation is? Can you explain what presentation is? What we have discussed, I think you can. You have studied, you remember. I see that. You may go wrong, it's okay. Can you talk about presentation stage of your lesson? Now you're planning your lesson, right? First, the presentation stage. What are the elements? What are the characteristics? You can put that. Feel free. If there's anything, I will add. And you don't want to. Right. I quickly tell. In the presentation stage, teacher explains the lesson with examples. And after explaining the lesson with example, teacher may ask a few concept checking questions to see whether the students have understood that. So normally out of 40 minutes, maximum of 10 minutes can be spent on that. And teacher talk time is 75% or more. And student talk time is less than 25%. So at the outset of the lesson, when you start the lesson, students are made passive listeners in that. Okay, students are anyway passive listeners in teacher-centered classroom. They are passive, they listen and learn, right, basically. So that happens in this presentation stage. And in that stage, you explain with examples and ask concept-checking questions to see whether they have understood. Less than 10 minutes of the 40 minutes, and teacher talk time is 80%. Students listen and learn. They are made passive. Then second stage. What is the second P for?
Practicing.
Very good. Practice. So there you have to know controlled practice. The term is controlled practice. So students can't actually, there's no room for students to make mistakes. There's no room for students to make mistakes. Controlled practice, maybe repetition. Repeat what you say, right? Maybe the same thing that you want them, you give an example, they follow it. Maybe changing one word and all that. Models are given for them to actually replace one word, two words like that. So highly controlled, select type questions are given for them to practice it. And out of 40 minutes, it's expected at least half of the class time is spent on that, in the PPP model, the practice stage. It's highly controlled. Students don't make mistakes. Why? If they make mistakes, learning is habit formation. If they make mistakes, they will form that wrong habit. It gets fossilized. They will learn the wrong thing and it gets kind of stabilized in them. Because of that, you don't allow them to commit mistakes. Mistakes are not tolerated. And because of that, you actually give them a lot of controlled practice, no freedom for them to do anything on their own, applying that knowledge. So teacher talk time is, it's 50-50, right? It's 50-50. Student talk time is 50% and teacher talk time is 50%. Half of the class time is also used for the controlled practice during the practice stage. Then go to the third stage. Now the students know the subject matter, right? And teacher, what is the third stage?
Production.
Production stage. Their teacher gives them a little bit of freedom for them to apply what they learned today as new knowledge, to apply that and do some work, right? Produce something new or more. right? Without looking at what exactly that they learned. So for that, you can actually set homework. If not, you can actually take the last 10 minutes of the class. You can give them group work because there's freedom. They have to apply new knowledge. Because of that, you are making it a little bit student-centered, okay? It can be individual desk work also, but you give them some freedom to apply that what they learned on their own for some new thing to be done in the class. Their teacher talk time is less than 25%. Student talk time is 75 or more. Their talk time means it's not only talking, that active engagement in the work, okay? Active students, active engagement, teachers, active engagement is the idea. Who is active in the class is the idea. So this is a kind of a model that you can use if you believe in behaviorism and teacher-centered in a particular lesson, right? In that particular lesson, you know why we select teacher-centered approach. Maybe you're highly a student-centered teacher, but in that particular lesson that you think it's good to go teacher-centered, maybe difficult content and all that, Kiela. So in that particular lesson, if you decide on teacher-centered approach to teaching, then you can use this model to teach PPP. So you're going to actually develop your lesson for the day using the PPP model. එතකොට P එක first එක presentation stage. That is the first stage of your lesson. Second P is for control practice. That is the second stage of your lesson. And last stage is the production stage, and there is some application of knowledge by the student. That is there. So you have to know that now we are not right now looking at it, how to develop a lesson using that killer, because we are getting into lesson planning. So stages of the lesson is only one component of the lesson plan, right? Before we write lesson plans, we look at models. So models are for the stages of the lesson. And we have to actually write lesson objectives. So this is partially lesson planning, teaching models. So how to actually write a lesson plan using this teaching model, we will be discussing it in the lessons to come. For the time being, keep the 3 stages of the lesson according to PPP model, and what kind of purposes do they serve කියන එක you have to keep in mind. පැහැදිලිද ඔයගලන්ට පුතා මං කියන එක?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, එතකොට තාම අපි lesson එකක් ලියන්න ගත්තේ නෑ මේ model එක දාලා. මේ lesson එකක් ලියන්න, lesson plan කරන්න අපිට models ඕනේ. එතකොට අපි model දෙකක් අපි ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි එක පැත්තකින් තියනවා. ඊළඟට අපි lesson planning වලට යනවා. අන්න lesson planning පටන් ගත්තාම එක කොටසක් තමයි මේ models අපිට ඕන වෙන. තේරුණා නේද? හරි. තේරුණා කියලා මං හිතනවා. Yes or no? You understand?
Yeah, madam. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Silence is killing, because I don't see you, your facial expressions and all that I don't see. No non-verbal communication here, eh? Only the voices. I don't see your facial expressions to see whether you have understood or not. So I used to read students' facial
We
expressions a lot.
also see your face, madam.
Sorry?
We also like to see your face.
Yeah, not today, some other day. But their camera is all the time, we can't actually switch on the camera, no? I don't think that it's possible, and not today. I have to make myself presentable also. We all one fine day, when we are doing presentations as the assignment, we have to do, no? Now you have another assignment, no, that is a presentation. That fine day, I get you also to have the camera on. I will also have the camera on, right? Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Right. Actually, very recently, is it also part-time lecturing in that particular place, Aquinas College of Education? That was all online, okay? then they completed the degree. That is also B.Ed Honours in English. And very recently, last year, they had a kind of transformation from online to offline. They invited all the lecturers. And while doing lectures, they all wanted me to actually have your camera on, have your camera on. I never was presentable. Right? During the COVID time, that was the way. No? And then they were very happy to see us all the lecturers that day. Okay, that is deviating from the lesson, right? Okay. Now, today we are talking about another model. That is the 5E model of instruction, or the 5E model of teaching. Instruction is teaching, right? So, this 5E, podi notes, you can make your own notes. You always have to be seated at the desk with the pen and paper in your hand. You have to, then only that you can ask questions then and there while cooking, lectures. The 5E model of instruction or 5E model of teaching is a teaching model that we can actually apply in teaching. It is grounded on constructivism as the theory of learning. Constructivism as the theory of learning. Now, by now, you know what is constructivism. Am I right? By now, you all know what is constructivism, what constructivism is. What are the basic idea of constructivism? What's the basic idea of constructivism?
Build up. Build up.
You are not audible, Puta.
Student-centered.
Yeah, basic idea is, Puta, students discovery learning. What is it? Discovery learning. Not then behaviorism make a habit formation. Learning is habit formation. Habit එකක් හැදෙන්නේ කොහමද? Repeat, then you form a habit. So that is learning for behaviorism. Constructivism, learning is discovery learn. Do it and learn. Trial and error learn. Get the learner to do something and discover new knowledge. That is constructivism. Build new knowledge on top of what they already know. That means students are not empty vessels as it is in behaviorism. Students have prior knowledge, existing knowledge. They have knowledge of the world, knowledge of the language, knowledge of the subject and all that. So that existing knowledge can be the kind of, you can make use of that existing knowledge and get them to build new knowledge on top of it on their own. What's the role of the teacher? Teacher is a facilitator. Teacher is a guide. But in behaviorism, teacher is a knowledge imparter. Here in constructivism, teacher is a knowledge manager. You have to actually manage the classroom. You have to bring materials. You have to give them activities, plan it accordingly for the students to do something and learn new knowledge, discover new knowledge. So that is actually constructivism. So in constructivism, you have to use, because students have to actually do it on their own, no? So they can make mistakes. In behaviorism, mistakes are not tolerated because they form the wrong habit. They get fossilized. Econism, mistakes are not tolerated. In constructivism, mistakes are part and parcel of learning. They are actually proof of learning. So it can happen in the class. And that you have to facilitate a discovery learning on their own, that they have to discover. How to facilitate? There are key principles. Cooperative learning, pair work and group work. And then authentic materials and situations, real life situations. Because they can use their knowledge of the world and all that, no? Authentic situations and authentic materials. And are kind of very important in constructivism. Otherwise, they will prior knowledge, recalling prior knowledge. Those are very important elements in constructivism. So based on that, constructivism as the learning theory, only this 5E model of teaching is formulated. Is it clear to පුතේ අර පරණ දෙයක් මම මේ කිව්වේ? The newcomers might think I'm going very fast, but actually I was recalling, I was revising what we have discussed previously as the background knowledge, as the basis for this 5E model of instruction. So those, I think the newcomers, last week also we had one. Make sure spend some time as soon as possible with what is discussed previously. It is helpful in understanding what we discuss now. So for assignments, I can actually give you more time. I understand. එතකොට අනිත් අය everyone මම මේ සිංහල පොඩ පාවිච්චි කරන ඇතර ඔයගොල්ලෝ කතාවට ගන්නවා අපි we feel free with our first language නිසා. But maybe some of your first language is not Sinhala, then I really don't want to use Sinhala. If you're comfortable, I can use. If not, I can actually speak only English. But if I speak only English, I want you to talk, right? Don't speak weak Tamil because I don't know my Tamil. Did you kind of do you understand what I discussed right now as the theory, the model is grounded on, the 5E model is grounded on?
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
actually revision of what we have done.
Yes, sir.
Is it okay?
Constructivity.
Is it okay? Yes, our one and only Channa is not talking today. Mokade. One and only Channa. Have I here windy and all, no? Very bad weather. What about you all?
In here
Okay.
also same, madam.
Right. Can I actually, sometimes for a while I will be disconnected, but don't leave the class. Right. Okay, I'm connected now.
Hello, madam.
Yeah.
Channa has sent a message, madam.
Uh-huh.
He
What
is
has he
using
said?
the laptop. He is using the laptop and join the class. So mic is not working.
Ah.
He can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's all right. You're there now at least, no? Right. Then you can hear me now, no? Right. So we are going to discuss this 5E model of instruction. So if you are using this 5E model of instruction, you are a student-centered teacher in that particular lesson. And these will be the 5 stages of your lesson. 5 stages of the lesson, okay? And it's based on constructivism, very beautiful concept, but sometimes it has its own advantages, own disadvantages, limitations. The limitations are there, na, we can blend. It's a beautiful way of doing that. Api antimati ඉවර කරන්න එතනින්. How to go eclectic, how to blend some elements of PPP and how to blend some elements of 5E model. That is actually educational technology, right? ඒක තමයි educational technology කියන්නේ. තියෙන විදියටම දෙයක් පාවිච්චි කරන එක නෙමෙයි. You are not going to use PPP model as it is. You are not going to use 5E model as it is. Instead, you have the ability to actually draw elements from different concepts and combine them and engage in your learning and teaching. Yes. So then 5E model of instruction. So what are the 5 stages of 5E model of instruction or teaching model? You start with engage. What is it?
Engage. Elaborate.
No, then explore. You have to go this
Explore.
way, clockwise. Engage and then
So,
explore. And then explain. And then elaborate. And then evaluate all throughout the lesson. All throughout the lesson. Now follow the arrow and read the 5 stages. starting with engage, then explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluation can happen all throughout. Now you can recall what we discussed under questioning. ඒකේ පොඩ්ඩක් හිතලා බලන්න. We use questions to assess whether the students have understood or not. So evaluate means assess. So you all throughout you can use evaluate or assess. You can assess your students' understanding time to time, all throughout your lesson, not only at the end as it's in the typical classroom. Okay? So that is evaluate. Evaluate means you want to know whether your students are learning. So time to time that you can actually ask questions and see whether they have learned, observe and see whether they have learned. It's not only asking questions, right? But asking question is also can be all throughout for the purpose of assessment of the child. And observe, give them an activity and see, and get them to speak and see, all these are there. But you assess the child, evaluate the child all throughout the lesson. පන්තිට එනකොට at the outset of it, before you start the lesson, on starting that you can actually evaluate their existing knowledge, right? That is why all throughout the lesson, evaluation happens, assessment happens. When you're starting, you recall their prior knowledge. There you evaluate their existing knowledge, right? So evaluation is not only at the end of the lesson, all throughout the lesson. Okay, time to time you can stop, ask a few questions, observe what they're doing and see whether they have learned. So something like that. Okay, at the outset itself, before you're starting, at the starting point that you can actually give them a small activity and see their assess or evaluate their existing knowledge about the topic. Similarly, right? So those are the 5 stages. So we are going to take one by one and discuss how and the purpose of having that stage in your teaching session, right? So far so good, dear? Are you all okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So the 5 E's. Can I get one of you to read the introductory paragraphs? But I explain you only it's there, but you can actually read it to the class.
The 5 E's is an instructional model based on the constructivist approach to learning, which says that learners build on construct new ideas on top of their old ideas. The 5 E's can be used with students of all ages, including adults.
Continue.
Each of the 5 E's describes a phase of learning, and each phase begins with the letter E: engage, explore, explain, elaborate, and evaluate. The 5 E's allow students and teachers to experience common activities, to use and build on prior knowledge and experience, to construct meaning, and to continually assess their understanding of a concept.
Right. Thank you. Very good reading. Right. So that is the introduction I gave you, right? Then we'll take one by one. The first stage. Now you're using 5E model today. You're a student-centered teacher for that particular lesson. You think that is appropriate in that particular lesson, that you can go student-centered. So you develop your lesson according to the 5E model. The first stage of your lesson is engage or engagement. Both ways that you can use, engage or engagement stage. That is the first stage of the lesson. Now in the PPP, the presentation, teacher goes on explaining with examples and concept checking, right? But here it's totally different. Engagement is the first stage. This is how it happens. First, I will talk to you about the purposes of the engagement stage. Why do we actually, what do we do during the engagement stage, and why do we do that? Okay. In purpose of engagement stage is motivating the learner to learn. One thing is motivating the learner to learn the lesson. at the outset itself that you have to motivate the learner to learn. Otherwise, they will actually be bored. In the presentation stage, the teacher talk time is 75, the learner is passive, they get bored. No? That is a difficulty there, limitation there. But here in engagement stage, you have to motivate the learner. And another one is making the learner active learner at the outset of the lesson. Making the learner an active learner at the outset of the lesson. Outset like a beginning. So first one, motivate the learner. Second purpose is making the learner an active learner at the outset of the lesson. You call it liberating the learner from the seat. It doesn't mean that you have to actually get them to walk around. No, liberating the learner from the seat means in traditional teacher-centered class, they're couch potatoes. They just sit and look at the teacher in front and listen. That's all. No. You have to make them very active. So baby, while seated also, they're active participants. That's the idea, liberating them from the seat. It's a kind of idiomatic expression, okay? So you have to, in 5E method, constructive learning. Learn, do it and learn. You have to get them to do it from the beginning itself, beginning of the lesson itself, because the concept is do it and learn. Students have to do something and learn. So you can't get them to be seated at the beginning of the lesson. So you have to liberate them from the seat. That means you have to get them to do something at the outset itself. So that is the second purpose. Third purpose, I told you this is grounded on constructivism. So constructivism, that means they have to construct new knowledge on top of what they already know. So existing knowledge or prior knowledge is a very big concept in this. So as the teacher, in the engagement stage, the first stage of the 5E model, you have to get them to recall prior knowledge or the existing knowledge, which is relevant. Then actually they can build their new knowledge on top of that. They can make use of the existing knowledge in understanding new knowledge, in other words. So another purpose of engagement stage is getting them to recall, revise the prior knowledge relevant to the new knowledge, because they make use of what they already know to understand the new knowledge. So you have to definitely recall the prior knowledge in the engagement stage. That is the first stage. That is another important purpose of the engagement stage. That is what you should make happen in the class in the engagement stage. Get them to recall prior knowledge, then they actually build new knowledge on top of, they can build new knowledge on top of that prior knowledge that they have. Are you okay? Yeah. Now here, can you read what is given under engage? Then I will give you an example. Can one of you read what is given under engage?
This phase of the 5E starts the process. An engaged activity should do the following: make connections between past and present learning experiences, anticipate activities and focus students' thinking on the learning outcomes of current activities. Students should become mentally engaged in the concept, process, or skill to be learned.
Right, okay. Thank you. Good reading. That is that you have to make them prepare to discover new knowledge, right? To get them to be prepared to discover new knowledge, you have to make them active. You have to make them motivated. You have to actually recall the prior knowledge that they have to use in discovering new knowledge. That is what should happen. So I give you an example, one or two examples here, right? Suppose you're an English language teacher and you want to teach them simple present tense. Simple present tense. Now, today's new knowledge is simple present tense, active voice sentences. Right. Now you have to think as a teacher, for them to learn this new knowledge, simple present tense. For them to learn this new knowledge, what are their prior knowledges? What have they actually learned in the past which is helpful for them to actually use that knowledge to learn the new knowledge? You have to think in terms of that in planning this lesson. Because engagement is recalling prior knowledge relevant to the present lesson for them to actually build new knowledge on top of it and understand it. So definitely the purpose of engagement is that. So you have to first actually think of area or the knowledge that they already possess, already learned previously, and it is helpful in learning the new knowledge. So in simple present tense, today you are introducing simple present tense to grade 6 students. You want them to know how to form the verb in simple present tense and where to use simple present tense, the functions and form. What prior knowledge can you have a educated guess that they need and they already have in order to understand the new knowledge? Can you tell me? What are the prior knowledge that they might have? You may not be thorough with that if you're not an English teacher, but just tell me. In the past, you have taught them how to form the singular form of the verb. The base form, singular form of the verb, it is done previously. Because in active voice, they have to use S form as the base form. So rules of S form, they have already learned. So you can actually recall that prior knowledge that they have in order to get them to actually understand how to form simple present tense sentences, because in active voice, simple present tense positive, they use base form or S form. So they have already learned before in a previous class or in a previous lesson, the forms of the verb, base form, S form, past tense form, ing form, blah, blah, blah. So they know it. Now you can make use of that knowledge for them to actually learn new knowledge, active voice, simple present tense, verb formation. Are you okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I give you another example? Right. Another example that I can give you from not from English, some other subject. Let's see. It is right. It is we'll take environmental studies. Okay. It's environmental studies about parts of a tree. Environmental studies, parts of a tree. So it's the new lesson, parts of a tree. Now you have to teach them parts of the trees and its actually uses, right? What kind of uses are there in each part, or what are their functions? Roots are for what purpose? Like that. What are their functions and all that? So for that, you have to now recall their prior knowledge. So what kind of prior knowledge do they have in order to understand new knowledge of parts of a tree and its functions? Can you just suggest? They already know this about this. Now, suppose now today you're teaching the functions of the parts of a tree. Functions of the parts of a tree. It's a 40-minute lesson. It's a grade 4 class. Functions of a part of a tree. So already you have covered in a previous lesson parts of a tree. Maybe in some other grade they have done that. You know it. It's there in the grade 2 class. Now this is a grade 3 class. Functions. But parts of a tree they know. So then you can... Now your today's lesson is functions of different parts of a tree. Right? But they have they have already learned it. What are the parts of a tree? So you can first recall it. And it is very helpful for them to actually build new knowledge on top of what they already know. Are you okay with that example?
Yes, ma'am.
So can you think of another example from any other subject that you teach? I know some of you all are teachers, though you all are not still teachers, that you all have some understanding about how this learning teaching happens and the content and the materials. Can you actually share one or two examples here, please? Can you?
Excuse me, madam.
Yeah, dear.
I don't know whether this one correct or wrong.
All right.
Madam, according to that, if I teach them to nouns, then after that they know the prior knowledge of nouns, right? Then, hello.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm
Then
taking it into my head. Now you're going to teach them nouns, okay?
No, madam. No, I am going to teach the adjectives, right? But
Okay,
they
very
know
good.
prior knowledge of the nouns
Okay,
because I have taught them already.
right.
So I am going to teach them now what are the adjectives. Then I can teach them adjectives mean the describing words. So we can ask what are the nouns and please describe the nouns.
Right. Okay, you're very good. I agree with you. Right. Now here, to further explain, now you have your lesson, new knowledge you have to first talk about. Okay, what you're going to teach them. You're going to teach them adjectives. Okay, very good. So to teach adjectives, actually adjectives are describing words of nouns. Right?
Yeah.
Adjectives describe nouns. So you can't teach adjectives without connecting it into nouns. So you have already taught them nouns. They know it. It's their prior knowledge. So you can actually recall them. So first you can actually give them a small, you recall their knowledge on nouns. And then you can actually get them to discover new knowledge on adjectives. It's a very good example. What's your name? I didn't see you in the...
I'm Sulochana, madam.
Yeah, Sulochana. It's a very good example from
Thank
English language teaching. Yeah. So can I get another example? Very good. Keep up. Others also can join in the discussion. That is very good example. We'll be discussing how we can do that further later on when we're writing lesson plans. Okay. Any one more example? One more example. That our newcomer, Shamala, are you okay?
Yes, madam. Okay.
You have a lot to do, huh?
Yes, madam.
But it's good anyway, right?
Okay. Okay.
Then any one more example, please? Right. Last week also we had a newcomer, Nether. Is she there?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your name, darling?
Rinaza.
Rinaza. So you also
Yes.
have to do the same thing. I think better Rinaza and Shamala. Both of you can get together and go through the material and discuss.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah,
Okay,
you have,
madam. Sure.
yes, definitely get together. So it's a help,
Okay.
and the others also will help you definitely. Okay. And if there's
Okay.
anything that you can actually contact me, but the class time cannot be taken for that, Kuta, you understand. Okay. Right.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Definitely. Right. Then I want to tell you something now. Another example, we will forget about it. Now I want to tell you something like this. Right. Now you're going to talk about right. Now this is 5E is based on constructivism. So constructivism is the learning theory. So students have to do it on their own. Students have to do it and learn. You call it discovery learning. You know the advantages when they do it and learn. We looked at the Dale score. remembrance is 90%. Okay, if they just listen and hear and see, remembrance is very low. So we have discussed them, so you know its pros and cons are there. But anyway, if it's 5E model, which is grounded on constructivism, that you can't explain. Teacher is not supposed to go in front of the class and explain. Why? Students have to discover new knowledge. They have to do it and learn. They have to engage in trial and error learn. Why? Remembrance is 90%, according to Dale's cone. So how can you do that then? Now, in the presentation stage, teacher goes in front of the class and explain everything on the board with examples and ask questions. Here, you can't do that. You get my point, Putta? Because you have to get them to do it and learn. So recalling prior knowledge is also, you have to actually organize an activity for them. All activity-based, task-based. The 5E model is tasks. Teacher is never to go in front of the class and explain. Never. So for that, the class begins with an activity. This is to recall prior knowledge which is relevant in today's lesson, relevant to today's lesson, relevant in understanding today's lesson. So you have to actually bring a task to the class. Now, in that example of adjectives, right? Today's lesson is adjectives. So you are going to recall their prior knowledge on nouns because it's very much relevant. So you can bring an activity to the class. Make sure that is the 5E model engagement stage. It is a whole class activity. It is a whole class activity. Whole class, WHOLE. Whole class activity kyanne promoting volunteerism. I will explain. Whole engagement activity is a whole class activity promoting volunteerism. Volunteer karanama. VOLUNTER. Volunteer. Volunteerism ISM. That is, you expect them to know it already. This is prior knowledge you're recalling. So you give them freedom as a whole class that you can get them to do that activity. Those who like, they can do. Volunteerism is promoted. That is also very important. Willingly they participate. Volunteerism means willingly they participate in the activity. Why activities? Because teacher can't explain. That is not an element of constructivism, right? They have to do it and learn. Active participants in the class. So at the outset itself, they are active. So you can make it very easily active. You can make them very easily active participants by engagement stage. You are dealing with something they already know about the subject or the topic. So they will willingly take part. So you promote volunteerism. The key to volunteerism is make it a whole class activity open to all. Habba, it's an activity. Teacher can't explain, right? It's an activity. We will be, when we write lesson plans, you will come to know better, right? These are the theory part that I'm teaching you. This is the theory of it. So when it is come to writing lesson plans, I will actually show you, right, how to do that. So I will give you the example of, take the same example of that adjectives and nouns. So your new lesson is adjective. So you are recalling prior knowledge on nouns. This is what you can take. You can actually have, it's an English language lesson. You can find a poem on adjectives and a poem, right? That poem describes something. That poem describes something or somebody. Maybe a poem on your mother, right? You can easily search internet. When we do lesson plans, we will do like that. It's a poem on mother. It's a poem on maybe a place. So it has its nouns, it has its adjectives. Make sure the material has it, right? That is why I told you that readily available information there, but you should resource see in and then find appropriate ones. So the poem that you have has adjectives and nouns. Maybe it's about a person, අපි නිකන් එකක් ඉතින් හිතමු. Right? She is my mother. Kind,
About the doll, madam.
beautiful. Huh?
About the doll.
Yeah, about a doll, right? Okay, whatever, right? You get them to actually, so you actually paste it, you bring the poem on a slide and you actually show it on the screen. If you don't have ICT facilities, you can have a bristle board, big letters, you write the poem. Okay, right. Now, if it is thematic, now you have a particular theme. Now you are supposed to teach adjectives today, but the unit is, the theme is nature. So you can actually easily find a beautiful poem on nature, and it has nouns, it has adjectives. So you can actually connect it to the theme of the unit also, right? And then you get them to stand and recite the poem first, right? If it is a kind of a very, you can easily find material. Karaokes are there, songs are there. You can play the karaoke and they sing. And then you tell them, right, come to the board. And if it is smart board, you can actually get them to use this board. Bristle board, you can give them platinum and all that. So otherwise, if you are to write the poem on the board, half of the class is taken. No. That is why the teacher be very prepared in the student-centered classroom, not like teacher-centered. Teacher-centered, teacher comes and explains, nothing is needed. Here you have to be prepared. So you have to have the material ready for that, okay? So get them to recite, they will love reciting it, and then you get them to our volunteers, please come. There are 10 nouns in this. You know what nouns are. Come quickly and then circle all the nouns. Then the students now, they already know nouns. They come and quickly circle the nouns. You can finish this in 5 minutes or 6 minutes. If it is a grade 6 class or a grade 4 class even. Because everything is well prepared. And your students also actually now used to this kind of activities in the student-centered 5 model class. So they know it's very activity-based. So at the outset itself, you go to the class, you have the material, you have come prepared, you actually paste it on the wall and then get the students to recite. They are now in full swing active, and then you say, you can easily identify nouns. You know what nouns are? Can you come? There are 10. Can you come and identify, circle the nouns? You need only less than 5 minutes for that if it's very well prepared. Okay, that is how this kind of classrooms are conducted. Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now take that example of science class. I told you environment, studies of science, the parts of the plant. Now the new lesson is functions of the parts of the plant. But you're recalling the prior knowledge they have about parts of the plant. So you can do something like that. You can actually have a jigsaw picture and jigsaw words, right? And you can actually get them to whole class do the jigsaw puzzle on the board. So they will actually quickly come and do the jigsaw puzzle on the board, and they have a nice big tree. And then parts of the tree, and you can have word cards. So you can actually get them to volunteers come and pick the word cards and paste it at proper places. So they quickly pick the cards and paste it at proper places. Am I right? You need only 2-3 minutes for that. But active, liberating them from the seat and recalling prior knowledge of the parts of the tree and making them ready for the today's lesson and motivated. Do you agree with that? You agree with that? Hello, are you not there? Am I disconnected?
We are here, madam.
Right, okay. Do you understand this?
Yeah, ma'am.
Homework 1. ලියා ගන්න හැමෝම. Homework 1. ලියා ගන්නවද?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, right. Think of engagement stage example. What I discussed, adjectives, only the engagement stage example. Because you have to think of new knowledge, you have to think of relevant prior knowledge, a small activity for the whole class to be done in 5 to 6 minutes. You know the purposes also. Liberating them from the seat, active participation, recalling prior knowledge, and promoting volunteerism, whole class. ඔය ටික හිතලා think of a topic, new topic, what you're going to teach them, and what relevant prior knowledge relevant to the new topic is there, and how to record it. Are you okay?
Okay, ma'am.
And this is not very easy. Puta, yeah,
Again,
was-
tell the question, madam.
yeah, please.
Signal
Excuse me,
Yeah,
madam, I was not there for 15 minutes or something else because of the coverage problem. I don't know what you said.
oh, this is Fatima Sapana, am I right?
Yeah.
So I will repeat. Actually, repeating is difficult, but I will
Yeah,
repeat
yeah.
because we have to cover also. Na? And now we are in the 5E model engagement stage that you want to know, Safana.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, engagement stage is the first stage of 5E model of teaching. And in the 5E model, teacher can't go in front of the class and explain. Instead, teacher has to give them activities, tasks to do. Because do it and learn, no? Discovery learning, no? So they should be given tasks or activities for them to do it and learn. So you have to, each phase, you have to give them activities. So engagement phase, recalling prior knowledge, motivating them, getting them to be active participants, purposes are that. So you have to think of new knowledge you are going to actually get them to learn today. And you have to think of what prior knowledge they already have related to the new topic. And then accordingly, you have to give them a whole class activity. Whole class because volunteerism, right? And then examples is what kind of activities. You can't give them activities for 10-15 minutes because this is engagement state, what they already know. You can actually spend about 5, 6, 7 minutes only because they have to get into the today's lesson, right? Today's knowledge, discovery of today's knowledge. So normally the first stage is only for 5 to 7 minutes out of 40 minutes. So there are different ways of actually organizing these kind of activities. In one example, I told you're teaching adjectives, so they have to know their nouns, which is prior knowledge. So find a poem. This is one just suggestion. Find a poem where they see adjectives and nouns, and you get them to look at nouns. So you recite the poem, so they are very happy to recite. And then you get them to circle the 10 nouns in the poem and then say what nouns are it's recalled. So then you can use the same material in the next stage to talk about adjectives, right? Describing verbs of nouns. That is second stage anyway. So in the environmental studies class for grade 3, today's lesson is functions of the parts of the lesson. So recalling prior knowledge, what they already know is parts of the lesson, parts of a tree, sorry. So then you actually get them to do a jigsaw because it's a grade 3 class. We have to give them a lot of activities for motor development and all that, liberating them from. So you can bring a jigsaw puzzle and get them to actually do the jigsaw puzzle. Volunteers come and actually fix it here and there, and they see the nice tree, and then there are the parts of the tree written in word cards in a box. So you get them, volunteers, please pick a word card and then paste it at the appropriate place. Roots, leaves, branches, like that, they will actually, trunk, like that, they will do. So that is only 2-3 minutes needed, but teacher has a lot of work at home, right? In class, you can't get them do all that. You have to bring them to the class and get them to work. In traditional teacher center, teacher can come and go on talking in the class. No need to be prepared for the lesson. Here you have to be very prepared. Actually, these 5E model teachers, they have a lot of homework to do because they have to be prepared with all the materials and activities for the students to engage in, for the students to do in the class. Is it okay enough? Is it enough? Yeah. Move on to the second stage. What is the second stage? Explore or exploration.
No.
Right. Explore or exploration means now the students, they have to do it and learn. No? They have to explore new knowledge, what you want them to learn today. Now in that example given, adjectives. In the second example given, functions of the parts of the tree. They have to actually explore new knowledge. Teacher can't explain. Teacher can't go in front of the class and explain. So why? Listen and learn, read and learn. They learn only less than 50%. But if they do it and say it, they learn more than 90%. So because of that, the 5E model, student-centered. Teacher doesn't explain, but teacher get the students to explore new knowledge in the second stage. That is also, how do you get them to explore? You have to give them material, and based on the material, some tasks to do. That is how you get them to explore new knowledge. How do you get them to explore? You have to give them a task. Do it and learn. So how do you get them to explore? You have a material and an activity based on that. You can't just give them a read this and learn. Read this and learn the functions of the tree. They will not read. They will not learn that. They will learn something else out of it because of that. So exploration stage, explore new knowledge. The teacher has to, because you are giving them tasks. They have to do the task and learn the new knowledge, explore the new knowledge. So for that, you have to bring materials. You have to give them a noticing task. Noticing tasks. Tasks for noticing the information or the knowledge. Otherwise, they will notice something else, which is not what you want them to notice. So that is the idea. Here, you have to now, this is new knowledge that they have to actually explore. They need help. How you are going to help them? You get them to engage in cooperative learning. අපි ඉගෙන ගත්ත constructivism එකේ cooperative learning, pair work, group work, because they have to do it on their own. So there should be support. The support system is they are working in groups or pairs. Others are there. They can share their knowledge and work together and explore new knowledge. So definitely second stage of the 5E model, the students work in pairs or groups, cooperative learning. It's a facilitation, right? And then another way of facilitating discovery learning in constructivism is authentic materials and authentic situations. So you can think of actually as much as possible to use authentic situations and materials in the class. For example, if it is adjectives that you're teaching, reading a poem about a favorite person, or reading a kind of a paper article on Taj Mahal, is very authentic. That is what they may use English for, right? So a paper article on authentic Taj Mahal is very authentic material. Likewise, you have to make sure that it's as much as possible, its authentic situations are used as materials, authentic materials are used, Kanika, okay? Now, then explore. So then still it's an activity. Still it's an activity. So then you give them a material to explore, and then you give them an activity to do. If it is a science lesson, right? It's about some solubles and non-solubles. What is soluble in water, what is not soluble in water. So you bring the activity to the class. You tell them, you're working in groups. So you have coconut oil, you have some other things and all that. So you have to mix it into water and then see what happens. See what happens. And then mark it, whether it's soluble or non-soluble. And they do it with their friends in groups. And you have brought the material, you have given them a worksheet also. They can tick, they can underline, they can say yes or no like that. Okay. That is exploration rather than teacher going in front of the class and demonstrating as it is in the teacher-centered classroom, teacher demonstrates. Right, look at this. I add water, I add coconut oil into water. It is this. The teacher shows. No, you get them to actually, you bring material, you give them an activity sheet, and they do the task with clear instructions. You have to give them the material and the noticing activity. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Difficult?
No, madam.
No, actually, initially, when this 5E model was introduced to us, we were teachers. Long time back, I'm referring to. That time, actually, Madam Ginige from NIE Kiela, she made it, all the subjects should be taught using 5E model Kiela. She actually wanted badly to use the 5E model across the country. This is in 2000 or before that. Okay, I'm telling you. Then teachers started struggling. Because
Here, raining.
You can't hear.
Raining, madam.
Thundering the
Raining, madam. Raining here.
raining only or thundering also.
Raining, madam. Heavily raining.
Is it thundering also?
No, madam.
Thundering netta you can follow neither. Here also it's raining, but no thundering. If it is thundering, it is not safe. If it is not thundering, we can continue. Am I right?
Yeah, can't hear, madam.
That's the issue. So what can we do?
Madam, I also have coverage problem. I'm connecting several times.
It's okay, madam. You keep continuing, madam. We can take videos also.
Yeah, you try to. I will try my level best because here also it's raining and windy. But if we stop that, we don't have another day. If you don't mind, now these days are anyway raining.
Don't stop, madam. You keep continue, madam.
Right, okay. I thought of actually giving you a 15-minute break also because going on talking, we need a break, Nisa. I will finish that exploration stage and give you a 15-minute break. And we'll get back. Somehow or the other we do because I want you to do lesson planning and all that, and postponing is also not a solution, no?
Yes, ma'am.
No, if it is thundering, it's not safe, Puta. You have to tell me. Thundering nam bayanakaini. Eka nisa kiyanda. Then I can stop. If it is not thundering, yeah, it's not thundering, it's only raining. The coverage issue is the problem actually. But anyway, I will finish this exploration stage. Now, if you take that same example of adjectives, now, if you want, you can use the same material you brought. So you have to select the material very carefully, where they can see adjectives and nouns very clearly. So better to use the same material. If not, you can actually use another material. So you can tell them, get into your groups now, right? Now here, can you see all the nouns that you circle? There are words describing these nouns. There are words describing these nouns. Can you identify them? So you might think it's very difficult for them. So then you can say, you can give them an MCQ. Now the first noun you underline is this. And there are actually several words that describe this. What are they? And they can select. And they can actually say this kind and all that. They will actually, now they are working in a group also. They're not working individually. So they will be able to identify the words that describe that particular noun. All right, there are 3 nouns to describe this particular noun. There are 3. Like that, they will do it work in groups, so not alone. And teacher can monitor. Teacher can do rounds, and if they need help, teacher can give examples, assist them, give them an example. One activity can be, first question can be done with them and all that if they struggle, if they really need your help. And then they will actually identify all the describing words of these nouns. So you can actually now lead this explain. Then the next stage is explain. So what they discovered in exploration, you have to get them to explain to the class. Why? Development of 4 C's, communication skills. Each and every lesson, communication skills. So you have to train them, take rounds and give everyone the opportunity like that. You have to train them in this group work as well. So now the third stage of the 5E model is explain. Explain is what they discovered. They have to explain it now. So you get them to actually present their answers to the class. And remember, you have to lead a discussion afterwards. So whether they are right, whether they are wrong, and then they give the summary of the lesson. Right, now you learned. What did you learn? What are those describing words? They are the adjectives. Okay? You have to get them to actually understand what adjectives are. Time consuming, but remembrances and learning is very high. So explain, you get them to present the answers and lead a discussion. Communicative skills also develop, because this is constructivism. Development of the 4 C's, communication as well, collaboration, communication, all these should happen, not only subject matter. And teacher has to lead a discussion and see whether they get the proper understanding of the new knowledge through the exploration that they have done. So exploration and explain, they are combined. So then the next stage is elaboration. We will talk about elaboration. We'll take a 15-minute break. Now it's 8:42. I will put it into the chat. Where can I type? I will put it into chat. Can you don't... I can't actually type. I don't know why. Message. All right, I can type here. We will come back at 9 p.m. Okay,
Okay, madam.
Please come back at 9 p.m. We are going to talk about the rest of it. And at the same time, I'm going to touch upon a very important component, Bloom's taxonomy for lesson planning, right?
Madam,
Okay. Yeah.
No, can you repeat it, madam? That question, can you repeat it?
Which question, Puta?
You gave us a question.
Once we are back 9 o'clock, remind me.
Okay, madam.
I need to take a break, that's why.
Thank you,
Okay.
madam.
Don't leave the room meeting. be in the meeting, mute your mic and go. Right. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, madam.
Right, okay. Now, energized now, okay. We were talking about the first two stages of the 5E model of teaching class. And if you're planning your 5E model teaching, student-centered engagement and exploration, and then explanation. 3 stages we discuss, okay? Explanation as also we discuss. So you get the students to actually talk about their findings. That means the answers that they found through the for the noticing activities that you give, and then you can lead a discussion, whether it's right or wrong, and you can actually summarize the lesson there. So now that is how the 5E model is conducted, okay? And then the next stage is elaboration. Elaboration is similar to the production stage of the 5E model. Sorry, the PPP model. In the PPP model, the production stage, you get the learner to apply what they have learned, newly learned, what they have learned that day. So here in the elaboration stage also, now they discover new knowledge on their own and explain it to the class. Now you expect them to know the subject matter well. And then you give them an activity to elaborate that. That is, apply that new knowledge and do something. Maybe as a group work, maybe individually for homework. Both are okay, because now they have actually discovered new knowledge. So if time permits in the class, you can give them another activity in which they can actually use the new knowledge that they learned. Maybe if it is class, better to make it a group or pair work. Actually exploration, if you use group work, because more heads are there. In elaboration, you can make it pair work if you want. If not, both group work is okay if it is in class. But time doesn't permit that. You can actually set homework, then they have to do it individually. But now we don't talk about homework individually. We can actually give them homework where they can actually come online in virtual classrooms. They can discuss and do something if the facility is available. So even if it is out of class, you can get them to do group work, right? Now we are in technological world now. So they are used to this. They discuss it in WhatsApp and then get into Teams. They use the boards are there on a whiteboard and all that. They use them and they post pictures. They can create a video, whatever. But that is using that new knowledge. They have to actually apply it and do something more. That is elaboration, okay? That is for, now you have done psychology, cognitive psychology with me, learning psychology, sorry, pedagogical psychology with me. There, you could put them into memory retention and then transferring them into the long-term memory. So for that, you have to give them a lot of rehearse activities now. That can also be for elaboration purpose, okay? Then the examples we had, nouns and adjectives. Now they know what adjectives are. Now you can give them an activity where you give them some nouns. They have to think of suitable adjectives to describe those nouns. They do it on their own. It's a more difficult task, right? Earlier, it's identification of the words. Now, adjectives, now here you give them some nouns and they have to actually think of suitable adjectives. For example, teacher, kind, beautiful, clever, like that. You can actually give them, right? Now, adjectives also, you can actually put them into categories. Adjectives of color, adjectives of material, adjectives of qualities, like that. So whatever that you focus on, depending on the class and the level, that right, mother, qualities, like that, you can give them 1 or 2 criteria of adjectives, like that. So you can make it. So they in groups that they will do, and they will actually present the adjectives to the class with the nouns. That is elaboration. What they have learned, discovered, they are now applying it and producing new knowledge. So evaluation is all throughout. Evaluation is all throughout. Now here in the before evaluation, I can actually get you to look at the functions of the parts of the trees. So then they explain, no, these are the functions and all that. After now, we did not discuss the exploration activity for functions of trees. So for that, you can actually, if it is a grade 3 class, rather than getting them to read something, you can actually find a YouTube video. There are YouTube videos. If not, you can prepare your own audio, right? And you talk about these different functions. If it is a grade 6 class, you can give them the reading material of different functions and get them to classify them. Roots, how many given? We have done it with Agrawal and all that. I got you to classifications of questions like that. You can, it's a grade 6 class. If it is a grade 3 class, a video, while by watching the video that they actually know what are the functions of roots, what are the functions of leaves and all that. And then after actually making a note of it, they will present it to the class. So you have to manage the class time. So if you think that all the parts and all the functions by one group and then move to the next group, it's time consuming. You can tell them, first group, you talk about the roots and its functions. Second group, you talk about the leaves and its functions. Like that, you can actually give. Then they actually listen to each other and learn also now this time. And then for the elaboration activity, you can get them to prepare a poster, functions of parts of a tree. And you can tell them, because it's not only knowledge related, when they are preparing a poster, the color combinations, wordings and creativity, all are improved. No? And then you can tell them the best 2 posters will go up on the wall for 1 month. So it's not only knowledge, then their creativity, their psychomotor involvement, all these things will actually happen. And then actually you can give them some feedback on different aspects like creativity, wordings, catchy phrases, because you can't write lengthy sentences in a poster, and then color combinations and all that, and the best 1 or 2 can go on the wall as well. So that is elaboration. So evaluation in the 5E model is all throughout the lesson. Even at the outset, what existing knowledge that they have, you can assess, right? And then time to time, different areas that you can actually observe and see whether they have learned it. Ask a few questions and see whether they have learned it. Give them an activity to do. While giving them an activity, that you evaluate them. So they do the activity, engagement, exploration, you evaluate them. They are doing it right and all that. That is the purpose of evaluation. Actually evaluate, assessing the child, not to give a grading and all that, to see whether the child has learned or not. Right, that is based on constructivism. Can I get one of you to read constructivism, that part, quickly? Then I will actually stop my discussion on the 2 models. We'll move on to Bloom's taxonomy. Right. Can one of you read constructivism?
Constructivism is a learning strategy that draws on students'
Am
existing
I not correct?
knowledge,
Yeah. Yes, please.
beliefs, and skills. With a constructivist approach, students synthesize new understanding from prior learning.
You're breaking, dear.
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, ma'am. Hello, madam.
Right, okay, Putta, you are breaking and I can't hear anything. Now you all can read it silently. This is what we discuss on constructivism. Okay? Are you okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Right, sorry about it. I think it's breaking. So now I actually move on to, now this is actually theory part of this teaching models discussed. One from teacher-centered PPP model, one from student-centered 5E model, behaviorism and constructivism. So I gave you some examples, but exactly how to develop a lesson using these models is discussed in lesson planning only, right? So this theory aspect that we have to actually, theoretical aspect, we have to know. That is why it's done prior. Otherwise, while doing lesson planning, these things cannot be discussed. So similarly, we are heading towards lesson planning, how to plan a lesson and go and do it. But there's another very important component of lesson planning. So that is writing specific objectives of the lesson. So to talk about writing specific objectives of the lesson, we have to discuss Bloom's taxonomy. So my next topic is writing specific objectives of a lesson and Bloom's taxonomy. So you can take down the topic, subtopic of the day. Okay. So let me open my lecture note. Please, yes or no, what? Yeah, I don't know whether you all can actually manage to hear or do anything. Please respond. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, ma'am, we are here.
Right, okay. Give me a second. I'm actually locating my. This is the one. Okay. Now, desktop. And then I have to go to new folder. And there we have the new folder. New folder. July. I'm to talk to you about Bloom's taxonomy, right? Give me a second. I'm locating it. All right, this is the one. Okay. Right. Bloom's taxonomy. Okay. Now I will show you this note. Can you see this? But I'm sharing.
Yeah, ma'am.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Now here, another important component of lesson planning. Now lesson planning means, now at the end of the day, you all as teachers, for each and every lesson you do, you have to write a lesson plan. You have to plan your lesson, right? Writing lesson plans is, oh, this is something that we can't do, and that is the attitude. But whether you write the plan or not, you have to plan your lessons, okay? So it's a must. So if when you plan your lessons, the first thing that you have to do is what? Now, suppose tomorrow you have a lesson for grade 6 science. What is the first thing that you have to do? Tell me. What's the first thing that you have to do?
Prepare a lesson plan according to that.
Yeah. Now, you have to actually plan your lesson. Now, in planning your lesson, what is the first thing you have to do? That is my answer. Definitely, you have to plan your lesson. You have to prepare a lesson plan. You have to plan your lesson. Even if you don't write the lesson plan, you have to plan your lesson, no? Right?
Before that, we have to study the lesson.
That means you have to be thorough with the lesson, Kenika, you are telling.
Before the plan lesson, we have to study it a little.
Oh, that means you have to know what you're supposed to teach. Am I right?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, how much of it to teach? The very first day we discussed, no? How much of it? Now, if it is water cycle or rain, whatever, in this particular lesson, how much that you have to teach? You have to think, no?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, everything you can't be teaching. Now, if it is simple present tense, because English language we all know, if it is simple present tense, you are not going to teach them simple present tense, active, passive, positive, negative, interrogative. You are not going to teach everything on one day. No? So
No.
what you are going to teach them? Simple present tense, active voice, positive only. Likewise, that you have to actually decide how much of it that you are going to teach and how you are going to teach it, Kenika. Yes, you're correct. And you are supposed to be thorough with what you know. That is why you read it and learn. Whether you're okay, you have to be thorough, right? Like a pre-preparation for yours. But planning the lesson, you have to know how much that you have to teach and how you're going to teach and all that you have to plan. And before, yeah, that is how much is that content that you're going to cover and all that. Okay, so that is the first thing that you do. But with that, what else that you're supposed to do? With that, what else you're supposed to do?
Time management.
Time management is also very important. You have to decide how much time that I can spend on that. So it's a 40-minute lesson. It's one period.
We can collect the facts.
Collect the facts.
Yeah, according to the lesson, that means visual aids and all.
Right. Okay, that material development. You're talking about what? Material development. Very good. You have to find materials. Those days we use the word teaching learning aids. Then quality inputs word is also used. And now actually they say teaching material. What is it? Teaching material. Right. Okay. I agree with that also. Then what else?
And madam, objectives, what can you give? What can we give for the
That
students?
is it. Before anything else, it is the objectives of the lesson. What is it? Specific objectives of the lesson. Before anything else, you have to look at specific objectives of the lesson. That is, yes, very important. Specific objectives of the lesson. So specific objectives, before talking about specific objectives, I will tell you specific objectives. Now you have to actually look at the syllabus. You have to look at your syllabus. So when you're looking at the syllabus, that you have to know what are the competencies, what competency levels to be actually discuss and all that, Kela, you have to make sure that you look at the syllabus. Now, have you gone through what are the subjects that you teach, and have you gone through your syllabus? Do you go through your syllabus? If not, I'm asking.
Yes.
Yes. And as a teacher, you should go through your syllabus. Otherwise,
Hello.
right. Okay. Right. Otherwise, right, you have to go through your syllabus. Otherwise, you're going to be in a kind of wrong track. You're not actually properly developing your lesson. So, අපි කියනවා ඒකට writing specific objectives of the lesson. How do we call it?
Write in
Specific objectives of the lesson. Specific කියලා කිව්වහම very specific, narrowed down. Okay, narrowed down, very specific. We have to make it smart also. Smart, you can take down, it's an acronym. SMART. SMART, smart. You can write SMART, smart. It's an acronym. Smart කියලා කියන්නේ you have to make it S for specific. You can write S for specific, right? S for specific. M for measurable. M for measurable. Measure කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕන. Understanding, at the end of the lesson, students will be able to understand. Nobody can measure whether the students have understood or not. Right? So measurable when not. Smart. A for action oriented. Students should write an action. Students should do an action at the end of the day. Students should be able to label the parts of the tree. Students should be able to state 5 uses of, functions of කියලා. We have to actually use an action verb. Learn, understand. They are not action verbs. They are not performing anything. Students, they don't perform anything. Understand, learn, you can't see whether they have learned or whether they have understood. So instead, you have to say students label, students will be able to name, students will be able to compare, students will be able to identify. Then you can actually see whether the students can do that. Okay, that is action oriented. Then R for realistic. Okay, realistic or reasonable. දෙකම කියනවා. Realistic or reasonable කියලා කියන්නේ if it's a 40-minute lesson, you can't get them to learn one whole unit, no? Right? So you have to say, I want my students to name 10 domestic animals. Students will be able to name 10 domestic animals, not 100 of them, not realistic, not reasonable. You can't actually teach that much within that time frame. Students will not be able to learn that much within that time frame. So you have to make it reasonable or realistic. Then T for time bound, as you all mentioned. Time කියලා කියන්නේ how much time that you are going to spend on each stage of the lesson. You have to think time bound. So when they will be able to do that, you have to tell in the specific objective. When will they be able to do that? At the end of the lesson, at the end of the unit, at the end of the program. Like that, you have to tell when they will be able to actually do that. Normally, the teachers write it for the lesson. So at the end of the lesson, that is time bound. That is a small description. We will be actually looking at it further, how to write lesson objectives, smart lesson objectives when we actually write lesson plans. Okay, before coming to that, your lesson specific objectives, you have to actually base it on Bloom's taxonomy of learning domains. Are you listening, Puta?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are we discussing?
Yeah.
Okay, y'all are breaking like nothing, appa. All right. We are discussing specific objectives of a
Yes,
lesson.
madam. Yeah.
Yeah, I told specific objectives. We will
We
look at
were
them in.
discussing about objective of the lesson.
Yeah, very good, very good. So we have to write it smart. Writing it smart, I will do it with lesson plan. But you have to know that these specific objectives of the lesson, they are based on Benjamin Bloom, the name of the educationist, okay? Benjamin Bloom's taxonomy of learning domains, okay? So this is very important. Each and every lesson that you teach, irrespective of the subject, whether you teach English or maths or science or art or whatever, irrespective of the grade, whether it's primary or whether it's A-level or whatever, you have to actually base your specific objectives of a particular lesson on the Bloom's taxonomy of learning. Okay. So because of that, as we finish discussion on the two models, PPP and 5E, before getting into lesson planning, we will look at this Bloom's taxonomy as well, because you can't write specific objectives of the lesson in the lesson plan if you do not know about the Bloom's taxonomy, right? Are you ready?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Now, according to Benjamin Bloom, which is termed as Bloom's taxonomy of learning domains, each and every lesson that we teach should cater to the development of 3 domains in the child. How many domains?
3.
3 domains. What are they? You can see it here. Cognitive, affective, psychomotor.
Cognitive domain, affective domain, psychomotor domain.
Very good. Thank you. Now let's see. I will give some other words for these 3 domains. Cognitive domain, knowledge. We call it what? Knowledge related. Cognitive domain dash knowledge.
Cognitive
And
domain.
head කියලා. Head. H-E-A-D, head. We cater to their head. H-E-A-D, head. 3H කියලා අපි කියන්නේ ඒකේ. Head. Then affective domain is attitude related. What is it? Attitude related. I will explain it further. Okay, these are terms. Affective domain or attitude related. අපි කියන heart කියලා. Heart. 3H. Heart.
Yes.
Okay. Psychomotor domain. Skills related.
Body.
Body. Hand. Very good. Skills related. And it is hand. 3H, okay? Head, heart, and hand. So any lesson you teach, you should actually think of the 3 H's. You have to teach to the head and the heart and the hand. Cognitive, affective, psychomotor, all the 3 domains. If not, they should get knowledge, they should get skills, they should get right attitudes as well. Otherwise, your teaching is not effective. Most of the classes, most of the teachers, they focus only on out of the 3 what domain? Or which domain? Typically, which domain is more focused in a class?
Cognitive domain.
Cognitive domain. But now, of course, in this value education, in this 21st century education, in this employable education,
Psychomotor
right?
domain is very important.
All the 3 domains are very important.
Yeah.
What is the point? You have the psychomotor ability, you can do it skilled, you have knowledge, but your attitudes are not good.
Yeah.
Right? Because of that, each and every lesson, it may be maths, it may be science, it may be English, it may be art, all irrespective of the subject that you teach, irrespective of the grade you teach, according to Bloom's, you have to cater to all the 3 domains, all the 3 areas should be developed in the child. That's the idea. You understand? All the three domains. Simple example from English language gammu. There's a reading passage on trees. There's a reading passage on trees. So cognitive domain may be, right? What trees gives us, that reading, development of reading ability, scanning and skimming. They will be able to scan and identify info meaning from context like that. That is cognitive domain. They read to scan and identify information, knowledge and all that. Psychomotor domain may be that you get them to actually read it aloud, and you get them to actually dramatize the uses of trees in front of the class and all that. They can come in front of the class and talk about trees. You're referring to psychomotor domain as well. But affective domain is you have to actually get them to know trees are very important.
Trees
They
are
actually,
friends.
they are friends, and we have to actually protect our trees. So for that, you actually will ask them that in your home garden, plant a tree and look after it, go and talk to it, write a report on how you're looking after it by doing it in your vacation. Like that, you have to develop their attitudes also. There's no point in doing that reading passage for the sake of development of English language only. Right? You have to think of now one fine day, because of that reading, that they actually have developed their correct attitudes towards protecting trees as well. So each and every lesson that you teach, irrespective of the subject or the grade, that you have to cater to the 3 domains. You have to get them to develop not only head, but heart and hand as well. Then only it's an effective teaching and learning session. Idea is there. You got it?
Yes, madam, it's
Yeah.
very clear.
Very good. Then there is more than one type of learning. A committee of colleagues led by Benjamin, wrong spellings there, okay? Bloom 1956 identified 3 domains of educational activities: cognitive, mental or knowledge, affective, growth in feelings or emotional areas, and psychomotor, manual or physical skills, ability to use your body, hand and tools, perform some act, okay? Ability to use your body, hand and tools, perform, right? Since the work was produced by higher education, the word tend to be a little bigger than we normally use. Domains can be thought of as categories. So අපි එක ඇත්තටම මම කතා කරා ඔයාට head and heart and hand, the 3H concept, okay? Right. Now we look at cognitive domain. First we will have a look at cognitive domain. Right. Can you read this? Because there are 6 levels of cognitive domain. Can you remember in the flipped classroom, we talk about what? Hot and? In the flipped class, I just mentioned what? Hot and lot. Can't you remember?
Yes, madam.
Lower order thinking and higher order thinking.
Yeah.
Right. Now, cognitive domain is related to knowledge or the mental activities. Okay. Head, knowledge or mental activities. Definitely we have to get them to develop that through your teaching. Okay. So can you read this introduction to the cognitive domain? First, we are looking at cognitive domain and its levels. Okay. Then we will look at affective domain and its levels. And then we will look at psychomotor domain and its levels. So first, the cognitive domain and its levels. Can you read? One of you?
The cognitive domain. Can you hear, ma'am?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
The cognitive domain involves knowledge and the development of intellectual skills. This includes the recall or recognition of specific facts, procedural patterns, and concepts that serve in the development of intellectual abilities and skills. There are 6 major categories which are listed in order below, starting from the simplest behavior to the most complex. The categories can be thought of as degrees of difficulties That is, the first one must be mastered before the next one can take place.
Very good. Thank you very much for nice reading.
Pleasure.
And then see, Bloom's taxonomy, the cognitive domain. Right? එතකොට එයා කියනවා මේක it happens at stages, levels. So because of that, he actually put it into an order, a taxonomy, right? In that order, we have this is the original domains. They are nouns. Now we don't use nouns. Instead, we use the new domain, verbs. Why? These are all students will be able to do at the end of the day. So it's action-oriented. We are using verbs. This is the new domains. So we look at new domains, right? First is remembering. These are all knowledge-related, okay? These are all knowledge-related. So if you want to actually develop their knowledge, that is cognitive domain, they should, it's facts, right? The facts. So if I ask you what are the three domains of cognitive, what are the three domains according to Bloom's taxonomy? If you can name them as cognitive, psychomotor, and affective, that is knowledge related, okay? So then that can actually happen, develop in 6 stages. But remember, right? First one must be mastered before the next one can take place. So what are the 6 from bottom to up? Because it's a taxonomy, right? So starting with remembering. They should remember the facts first and then go to understand. Just remembering or rote learn things, they can by heart, but that they don't know the meaning, there's no actually any use of it. So then second, understanding, and then apply. Applying means they will be able to actually apply what they understand and do something more than it. And then analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So analyzing, they can put it into small parts and then analyze. Detailed, pay attention to detail and know better. And then evaluate. So they will actually evaluate it, whether it's good or bad or right or wrong, and they can add their own opinions to it. That is evaluate, right? And then creating, they use that new knowledge and go beyond it and create something new, right? So we have to get our learner there. But if you are teaching a primary grade, I don't think that you can go to the top level. But anyway, you have to start from the bottom. So you may stop at 4th level or 3rd level if it is a primary grade, because you have done Piaget with me. You know, Piaget kiyanava, abstract thinking is possible only after 11 years. So for that, analyzing, evaluating, and creating, you have to wait till they come to their 3rd stage of cognitive development. Okay, but still, if it is even an A-level class, now they are possible of all the 6 levels. But you have to start here, remembering, understanding, and applying. Then you can actually get them to develop it on their own now. We discuss flip method, no? So if they are A-levels, if they are secondary school, they can do remembering, understanding, applying, they can do on their own, lower order thinking. And they can do more on analyzing, evaluating, and creating in class, something like that. But anyway, they have to start here. Without knowing it, they will not be able to evaluate or create anything new based on that. So, but in the primary, you will actually limit it to the lower order thinking activities. So, remembering, understanding, and applying, we call them LOT, L-O-T, lower order thinking development. Analyzing, evaluating, and creating, you actually tell them, refer to them as higher order thinking. So with 11 plus, we are actually catering to all the 6, because according to Piaget, they are capable of abstract thinking. But with the primary, we will more focus on the 4 levels below, right? Is it clear now? I will give you an example on one of the levels. Can I give you an example on these 6 levels? Can I give you an example of all these 6 levels?
Okay, madam.
Yeah. Now we'll take a small poem, right? Now you think that It's a grade 1 class. So still you actually teach them poems, but just remember it. They will by heart it. Rain, rain, go away, come again another day, maybe grade Montessori child. Grade 1, maybe another one. But they hardly know the meaning, just remember it. Okay? And then when they are when they are actually developing, improving, they understand the meaning also. So they have actions to the poem, right? Rain, rain, go away, come again another day. They know the meaning also. Then when it comes to applying, analyzing and all that, maybe that they can uh, 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 these are actually you can take together also, right? They can apply their knowledge and understand it better. For example, they will actually now they are in grade 6 or they are in grade 5. So you ask them, in this poem on Scarecrow, what are the lines that tell you that this scarecrow is very poor? So they read the poem and they say, haggard clothes, ragged clothes, a torn hat, and all that. What are the lines that tell you the scarecrow is old? One peg foot in the grave. Then he's nearing death, so old. Likewise, they are analyzing it. Okay, they're analyzing. So evaluate. Then they say now here this scarecrow is a representation of all men in our world, those who are neglected by their own children. When he was young, he might have done his best for his children, but now he's all alone. So you evaluate, right? By applying it to the real world and all that. Then what is creating? So they will write a poem, another poem on lonely men in the world. This is A-level literature maybe to get there, right? They will maybe grade 6, 7 also sometimes you get, right? They will create their own poem on old women, on men and women in the world, those who are neglected and isolated by their own children in old age. That is actually creating. So you can take them up when they are big enough, when they are mature enough cognitively to the higher order thinking as well. You got my point. I want you to respond.
Yes, madam. We are late.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know. It's breaking. No? Now here, knowledge. Recall data or information. Recall data or information. They can recall what they actually learn. So name the 3 domains of Bloom's taxonomic youth. Now you can actually name it now. That is knowledge. Got it?
Yeah, madam, got it.
Yeah. So examples. Recite a police poem. Quote prices from memory to a customer. Keywords. Samane api lesson plan එකේ objectives ලියනකොට knowledge related ඒවා. Now you have to write specific objectives now. So you have to write, you don't have to write for all the 6 levels, but depending on the class and all that, depending on what you teach, if you want to write related to knowledge level, the lowest level, it may be define, describe, identify, know, label, list, match, name, outline, recall, recognize, reproduce, select, state. For example, that same example of adjectives. At the end of the lesson, students will be able to identify nouns, right? At the end of the lesson, students will be able to define adjectives, what adjectives are. Students will be able to label the parts of a tree. They are knowledge related. So Bloom's action actually has a action verb wheel. You call it action verb wheel of Bloom's scala. So he has knowledge level. These are the possible action verbs. So you can actually refer to Bloom's wheel of action verbs. So you can decide. Mama, writing specific objectives, you can decide. Knowledge related. My students will be able to state 5 functions of different parts of the tree. So name, not name, state, සඳහන් කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා. So you can actually initially when you are struggling with lesson planning and all that, you can refer to the Bloom's wheel and you can actually go to the level that you are referring to and identify the proper one. Now here, parts of the functions of the parts of the tree, you don't have to say match name, it's state, සඳහන් කරනවා, right? So parts of the tree, label the parts of the tree. Likewise, and in the nouns, adjectives, identify the nouns. Likewise, you can actually find the verbs also from the action wheel, Bloom's action wheel. So it's very helpful for you. So if you all are residential teachers, you are supposed to write 100 lesson plans. And when you write 100 lesson plans, the first thing that the educational technology lecturer would do is get you to actually do a table prop of, and you can keep it on your table, the Bloom's wheel. The 3 domains, 3 wheels are there. You can actually rotate it. And then you go to levels and identify the verb that you want. You understand what I'm telling? So you are supposed to use it for 100 lessons in the teacher training college. So you will master it. It needs time. Now you're a part-time. So you all actually now, once this is done, when you actually prepare for your lessons, if you really want to become professional teachers and to do well in your job, that you will use this, right? I will show you the Bloom's action wheel once these 6 levels are discussed. So second level of the cognitive domain, we are discussing only cognitive domain. The second level of the cognitive domain is comprehension or understanding. Understand the meaning, understand the meaning, translation, interpolation, and interpretation of instructions and problems. State a problem in one's own word. That means they understand that what it is. So example, rewrite the principles of test writing. Explain in one's own words and steps for performing a complex task. Translate an equation into a computer spreadsheet. So what are the words that you can use? Comprehend, convert, defend, distinguish, estimates, explains, extends, generalize, give examples, infer, interpret, like that. These paraphrase, predict, rewrite, summarize, translate. So you can say translate active voice into passive voice. They have to do it with understanding, otherwise they can't do that, no? Like that. Application. Use a concept in a new situation or unprompted use of an abstraction. Applies what was learned in the classroom into novel situation in a workplace, like that. So use a manual to calculate an employee's vacation time. Apply laws of statistics to evaluate the reliability of a written test. Apply, change, compute, construct, demonstrate, discover, manipulate, analysis. What are the keywords? Analyze කරන්න පුළුවන් දැන්. Compare, contrast, right? You compare it with some other thing. Now we have done PPP model and 5E model. If you actually can compare and contrast, that is analysis. Okay. What are the differences of PPP and 5E model, that is analysis. So it's a higher order one, okay? So these are the words that you can actually use for that. And then synthesis. Synthesis is put 2 and 2 together, that you can actually do something. Now, if you can actually organize your own lesson using some elements from PPP and some elements from 5E and can go eclectic, so you are synthesizing, right? That is the purpose of learning, right? So in your students also, whatever the subject that they do, if they can put 2 and 2 together and combine and compare and do something new, not totally new, right? Something new can be, new things can be, not new, you can change it. It's synthesis, right? And then evaluation or creation. New one is creativity. So you can use that knowledge you learned and you can actually create new things. Now, for example, once you become a very well experienced teacher and then a teacher educator, and then now you're an educationist, you will do research on teaching methodologies and teaching models. And if you can develop your own teaching model, that fine day that you're a creative, you're into creativity, right? The highest level of cognitive development. That is what is expected in masters and PhD levels. They actually think of developing models and all that to develop, improve, develop their writing and teaching models and frameworks and all that through research and all that. So that is the highest level of cognitive achievement. But in your classes also, getting them to write a new poem can be creativity, highest level. So I will show you now Bloom's taxonomy wheel. Okay, give me a second. Can you see what I'm sharing on my desktop?
Not yet.
No, ma'am.
It's coming, no? Now?
No, ma'am.
No? I think it will take a little bit of time, Kiara. Now?
No, ma'am.
I have shared anyway.
Now I can see.
Yeah, yeah. Now here, this is verb wheel based on revised Bloom's taxonomy. Right? It's very easy when you write lesson plans, cognitive domain only, right? So you know the 6 levels: understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create. Remember, this is lower order, this is higher order. So you can actually think of your lesson, whether it's remembering, understanding, or applying. You take it as actually lower order and higher order. Don't separate it into 6 levels. Make it 2 levels. Lower order thinking and higher. This is the feasible way. Though there are 6 levels, this is the feasible way. So if it's a primary class, what are the words that I want you to, according to the lesson that you can actually take? Get it? You get it? Judge, originate, hypothesize, ever higher order. So build, report, sketch, describe, inform, match. Are you okay, Annie? Any other yes, no?
Yeah, madam. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a very difficult ones, no? So don't worry much about it. Now, I will show you something. Wait, NIE website. Very slow, Appa. You don't have to worry. This is not something miraculous. This is not rocket science. Okay, I want to tell you. Definitely that I will teach you how to write. We are normally write about 4 to 6 specific objectives for a lesson. So I will teach you
Madam.
Hello. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, I actually lost the connection. Give me a second. I don't know. Now that sharing option is also not there. I don't, what is happening? Y'all are there, no?
Yeah, ma'am.
So now I can't find the sharing option, no? Let me see, right?
It's okay, ma'am. Don't worry.
Yeah, now it's 10 o'clock, but don't think very big. I will show you how to make it very simple, but theory part we have to know, no? So to give the summary of the lesson is this, and now we finish PPP model, we finish 5E model, the theoretical component of it, so they will be helpful in writing lesson plans. And then we started another component of lesson planning, that is writing specific objectives of a lesson. So we have to actually discuss Bloom's taxonomy for that. We started with the cognitive domain of Bloom's and look at the 6 levels, putting it into 2 as lower order thinking and higher order thinking. And I wanted you to actually have a look at the Bloom's action verb wheel. So next day we will be actually looking at the affective domain and psychomotor domain. I will actually take only about 20 minutes for that. And then we will get into lesson planning. We will actually write, look at components of a lesson plan and how to write a lesson plan and how to develop specific objectives of a lesson referring to the 3 domains, maybe 4 to 6 specific objectives for a 40-minute lesson only that we are going to write. So when you come to class next day, if you can think of engagement, a topic and a class, an engagement activity for that, and the exploration activity for that, for 2-3 minutes, in 2-3 minutes, if you can talk about it, I'm going to be very happy. Something similar to that one example you gave, adjectives is the lesson and the nouns and all that. So I told you now nouns can be given in a poem and then they can circle and then group activity like that. something like that. If you can explain as you understand, that doesn't have to be perfect. So with that, I can stop, no?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, I will be sending you the lecture notes, and you get hold of the recording and you can listen to it again before you come next day as well. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Good
ma'am.
night.
Thank you,
Okay,
ma'am.
bye
Good
bye.
night.
Okay.